Welcome back. All right, so 3 games now, also in the books, as well as the Colorado-Arizona one, which is already on the channel and part of the recap playlist. So in the 3 games, I'm wearing Toronto. Throw everybody off. People are going to be like, he's going to wear Boston or Vancouver because, it's just going to be obnoxious that way. Nope. I'm going to wear Toronto because why not? Why not wear Toronto? So we're going to start things off talking about Boston and Carolina. Now, of course, the Canes wearing the Hartford jerseys today, and of course the Whalers magnets. They are large. Thank you for noticing. That means a lot. So yeah, the Whalers jerseys being worn, and it reminds people that back in the day when the Whalers would play the Bruins, and that was your New England matchup, they were usually pretty good games. There might be some fighting involved, but usually Boston won. So it's Swayman versus Anderson in this one. Zacha has a rush chance that's held. Bertuzzi's denied on a 2-on-1. The shots are 2-0 for Boston 3 minutes in, and at 4:43 they open the scoring. It's a 5-hole shot on a net drive. It's the 50th of the season for Pastrnak, his first 50-goal season. McAvoy and Orlov with the assists. So 1-0 Boston there. Canes look to respond. They're kept to the outside. Pastrnak has a rush chance. That's held. Nason scores with a high stick, so no goal there. That was waved off right away. There was no need for a replay. DeBrusk is denied in close. Canes cleared out. Shea's then denied. The rebound's cleared. Bruins score, but there's a penalty on the play. So as much as Jack Edwards wanted it to count, it doesn't. It was a pretty goal, but there's a penalty behind the play. And it was a legit penalty. Again, he was mad too. Like, why doesn't Martinook get anything? I don't know, because he got pulled down by McAvoy. Anyways, McAvoy would go to the box a couple of times during that first period. Early clears by the Bruins during that power play. Jarvis has a shot that's saved. They do kill that off. Pastrnak then fires one high on a fast break. 3:25 left. The Bruins get a power play, and this is when McAvoy goes back to the box. So it's 1 minute and 25 seconds, a 4-on-4. There's a near miss for Nason. Natchez has a shot that's held. That's all killed off. So after the first period, it's 1-0 Boston. Second period, early press by the Bruins. Aho has a rush pass that's picked off. Rush pants. I don't know where that came from. Shots are 2-0 Bruins at 5.5 minutes. Pastrnak loses the handle on a rush opportunity. And then Carolina ties it. It's Drury from Chatfield and Gostisbehere at 7:44, and it was a tic-tac-toe goal and a one-timer, and one of those rare 5-on-5 points for Ghost. I think this might be his first 5-on-5 point with Carolina. At any rate, Boston then gets a power play, and they score on it. It's a one-timer for Pastrnak, between the legs, so 5-hole. And Zacha and McAvoy with the assists at 9:12. Well, Rod Brindamore was not happy about the call. He was not a happy camper. It's 2-1 Boston at this point. Canes look to respond. Drury has a shot that's held as the Canes press. And then Jacob Lauko makes it a 3-0 score from Nosek and Grzelcyk at 11:46. He wires that one on a rush. Canes nearly answer. Steen, though, is denied. Anderson holds. The Canes then press with 2 minutes left. But it's 3-1 Boston going into the third period. Boston has an excellent record when leading going into the third. We know this. But the Canes need this win, right? They need points here because New Jersey, not that far beneath them. And so Shea scores on their first shot in the third period. Natchez and Pesce with the assists at 1:37. Canes look to tie it, and they do. Aho scores from Martinook and Natchez at 3:44. It was a failed clear by Boston, and they were really all out of sorts at this point. So Jim Montgomery calls a timeout, and this is the smart move. It drives me nuts when you see the game getting away from a team and a coach doesn't use the timeout. That's why it's there. Now, the Canes did press afterwards. They end up getting a power play. Natchez has a shot that's held. That power play is killed off. Lauko gets shaken up. It was a hit into the boards. He exits there. Then there's a near miss for Pesce. Canes press with 2.5 minutes left, but Swayman made the necessary saves. We go to overtime. Canes controlled early. Pastrnak has a shot that's saved. Orlov's denied. Coyle had a rush chance. That's held. McAvoy nearly ends it. And then in the closing seconds, Swayman with some heroics to get us to the shootout. And in the shootout, Coyle and DeBrusk score for Boston. They win this one 4-3. That's 7 wins in a row for Boston. They go to 57, 11, and 5 on the season. It's ridiculous. 119 points. Anyways, for the Hartford Whalers, 47-16-9 with the shootout loss for Carolina. Shots on net, 16-14 Boston in the first, 9-7 Carolina in the second, 12-10 Carolina in the third, and 5-2 in the overtime for Boston. Final shots, 38-37 for the Bruins. Power plays, Boston 1 for 2, Carolina 0 for 3. The hits, 20-14 for Boston. Swayman saves 34-37 at one end, Anderson saves 35 out of 38 at the other. Both goaltenders played quite well. Might have been one of Anderson's better games in recent days. All right, next up, Toronto and Nashville. So this was kind of a fun one, back and forth game, but once Toronto got their feet under them, they were pretty good. So it's Wall versus Lankinen. Early press by the Leafs, but they don't get shots out of it. There's a near miss by Sherwood from the slot. The Preds press at 2.5 minutes. Wall really sharp, and he needed to be, because the shots are 7-0 Nashville at the 3.5 minute mark. They got off to slow starts in back-to-back games against Seattle. Clearly they took it personally, and they took it out on the Leafs in this one. Then there's a near miss for Giordano as the Leafs press. Yarncroke has a blast. That's blocked. Leafs play picks up in the second half. Gross is denied from the slot. Wall holds on there. 2:42 left. Toronto gets a power play, and they score on it. And it's a tic-tac-toe play that ends with Tavares with his 31st of the year from Marner and Matthews at 18:06. And the Leafs press to close out the period. So it's 1-0 Toronto after one. Second period. Early press by Toronto, and that leads to a shot wired far corner, bar down. It's Kerfoot from Tavares and Hall at 1 minute and 2 seconds. Toronto's up 2-0. We then get a power play for Nashville. They cycle. Sherwood has a shot that deflects out. That was killed off. The shots are 3-1 Leafs at 6.5 minutes, despite the fact they were killing a penalty. And then there's a power play for Toronto. That's killed off. Nashville gets a power play not long after. Good cycle. Evangelista was denied in close, but that's still killed off. Leafs get another power play. There's a net feed to Nylander. Near miss there. That's killed off, so lots of power plays at this point in the game. Barry then has a shot that's held. Tavares would exit the game at that stage. He would come back. So we go to the third period with Toronto ahead 2-0. Power play for Toronto. That's killed off because that's what we do. Preds get a power play because that's what we do. Shorthanded 2-on-1. Yarncroke can't bury there. That was killed off. 2 shots for Nashville in that power play. The shots are 5-3 for the Leafs at 6.5 minutes. There's a stretch pass to Kerfoot. Near miss there. Sissons to Trennan. Near miss on that one as well. The Leafs press with 8 minutes left. Nashville, though, would get a power play, and they would score on it. It is Glass from Barry and Novak at 12:37. The Leafs call a timeout. And again, it's a smart decision to call a timeout here. This is 2 timeouts used, I think, correctly by coaches. Leafs press for a response. 5:44 left. The Leafs get a power play. Matthews has a shot that's blocked. They cycle, and then they score. It's Tavares with his second goal of the game, both of them power play markers. Riley and Matthews with the assists at 15:09. So for Matthews, a couple of helpers, and so he keeps his point streak going. But Nashville pulls the goalie, and they would score. Barry scores at 18:18 to tighten this one up at 3-2, but that would be your final. Toronto would hold on and win this one. They go to 44-20-9 on the season with the win. For Nashville, 36-28-8 with the loss. Shots on net, 12-10 Nashville in the first, 10-4 Toronto in the second, 14-9 Toronto in the third. Final shots, 34-25 for the Leafs. Power plays, Toronto 2 for 5, Nashville 1 for 4. Hits, 22-21 for Nashville. Wall saved 22 out of 24. Lankinen saved 31 out of 34. So both goaltenders played well, but again, Wall showing he's got a future, and I think the Leafs are in pretty good hands when they do turn it over to him, I would say in a couple years' time. All right, next up, Vancouver against Chicago. This looked like a trap game on some level, and I say on some level because Vancouver, not being a playoff team, not being near the playoffs, it can't really be a trap, can it? So, Delia versus Mrazek, Delia versus his former teammates in Chicago. You know a guy's motivated, and you know the Hawks would be motivated seeing their former goalie at the other end. For however many Hawks are left from that team, because it feels like there's been a lot of turnover since Delia left. Anyways, Hronek has a shot that's blocked. The Hawks rush. The shots are 3-1 Chicago at 3.5 minutes. Pettersson has a blast that deflects out. The Hawks press at 6.5 minutes. Hardman fires one wide from the slot. Then the Canucks press at 9 minutes, but they're getting blocked out. Chicago's giving them zone time. They're not giving them shots. There's a power play for Chicago. They cycle. Hughes clears it out. That power play's killed off. 1 shot for Chicago during that. Canucks press after it ends. They end up getting themselves a power play, and early in the power play, Murphy gets a shorthanded goal from Dickinson and Kachuk at 16:01. That was a screenshot from the point that beats Delia. Hawks then finish the kill. 2:03 left. The Canucks had another power play. That was killed off as well. And after the first period, even though Vancouver carried a lot of the play, they're down 1-0. Second period, early jump for Chicago. There's a press by the Hawks at 2.5 minutes. McDonough couldn't bury one on a loose puck. It was his first NHL game today. Canucks press at 7.5 minutes. Besser has a screenshot go wide. The Canucks are picking off passes. And pushing. That's going to go viral. Reichel then has one that's poke checked on a rush. Lucas Reichel had a really good game today. Might have been their best forward, and he ends up getting rewarded later in the game. But yeah, Lucas Reichel's looked pretty darn good. Then the shots are 7-4 for the Canucks with 8.5 minutes left. Bear has a shot that's tipped wide. Miller hits the side of the net in close, but eventually, you give them that many chances, they will score. One goes in off Seth Jones' skate. DiGiuseppe will take it. The assist to Miller and Hughes at 1943. Quinn Hughes, I think he's got an all-time record now for points in a season by a defenseman in Vancouver, and I think he's breaking his own record for that. Anyways, at this point, the record book, I just assume everything belongs to Quinn Hughes except the goals record, and eventually that'll happen. But it's 1-1 going to the third. Early power play for the Hawks. Reichel's denied. They cycle. Tyler Johnson was robbed twice. That's killed off. Shots are 6-1 Chicago at 4 minutes. Then we get a power play for the Chicago Blackhawks. That's killed off. The Canucks clear. The Canucks press at 9 minutes. We go 7+ minutes without a whistle, and then it's a goal. It's Pettersson from Bear and Kuzmenko at 12:06. He buries that one from the side of the net. So one thing that started showing up in Vancouver's game is better defense and long stretches without a whistle. Definitely this is what we're going to see with Talk It Hockey. I'm fine with that. I'm fine with games being over quicker. That doesn't bother me. Then we get a power play for Vancouver, and they score on it. It's Pettersson from Kuzmenko and Besser at 13:09. So Kuzmenko with a couple of assists today. Not bad. But Chicago would answer during their 6-on-5, also at 18:18. So Reichel would score this one from Seth Jones and Dickinson. So Dickinson with a couple of assists against the team that dumped him off before the season started. Makes it 3-2. But unlike that game, when the goalie gets pulled again, the Canucks get the goal. It's Besser from Bear and DiGiuseppe at 18:57. So Phil DiGiuseppe with a goal and an assist today. Nice. Final scores 4-2 for Vancouver. They get back to NHL 500 at 34-34-5. For Chicago, 24-43-6. So Vancouver's won 9 of their last 11 now. They're playing pretty well. Shots on net, 10-6 Vancouver in the first, 11-8 Vancouver in the second, 17-10 Chicago in the third. The shots are 31-31. Power plays. This is wrong. Both of them showing as 1 for 3 or 0 for 3. The reality is Vancouver was 1 for 3 and Chicago was 0 for 3. The hits 24-21 for Chicago. Delia saves 29 out of 31. Mrazek saves 27 out of 30. So there you go. Vancouver winning all the games when they're no longer in the hunt for a playoff spot, and there you are. But I'm fine with it at this point. It's good. They pass St. Louis. St. Louis plays the Kings tonight. We'll see if St. Louis wins or loses that one. Of course, LA on an 11-game point streak. Pacific Division teams, not too bad second half of the season. So there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.